permitting from the state. One is the construction of a levee or the placement of floodplain fill within a floodplain. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk through the definition of these things and outline what these actual laws mean to you. So a dam, as defined in the state statute, is a structure that is for the impoundment of water and is 25 feet or greater in height. And then there's a big or, is 6 feet or greater in height and holds 50 or more acre feet of volume behind it. So there's a picture down below. So that's what it means, is that the height from the downstream slope to the very top of the dam is 6 feet, and there's 50 acre feet behind it. That is one definition, and the other definition is just 25 feet high from the very downstream slope to the crest of the dam. It must be stated that dry detention ponds for those detention ponds are included in this definition because they are for the impoundment of water. One thing to remember is that there's a difference between maintenance and repair. So maintenance items are removing woody vegetation from the dam, any kind of grass seeding, getting rid of some burrowing animals inside of the dam, replenishment of riprap, or the removal of debris from the spillway. All of that does not require a permit from the state. It's just part of maintenance of our dam. However, the types of repairs that I have listed, pipe replacements, slip lining of pipes, embankment modifications, modifying the auxiliary spillway, that requires a permit from our office. So if someone comes to you for that, it would require a permit from our office to do that. In 2013, the legislation came up with what's called a Class A exemption. So to walk through that exemption, the dam has to be less than 30 feet high from the top to the downstream slope and has storage less than 125 acre feet at the emergency spillway. It has to be a low hazard, meaning that there are no homes, major roads, major railroads downstream of it, so that if it were to breach, it wouldn't hurt anyone. That's what we consider a low hazard. A registration is required through the Division of Water Resources, and we'll go through that here in a minute. And the dam safety team must do a determination whether or not it does meet that qualification. That's why the registration is required. We look at it, our dam safety team looks at it and makes sure that it does meet that qualification of a Class A dam. Just because it's a Class A dam does not mean that it's exempt from all permitting. It still could require a floodplain fill permit. And in that determination letter that comes back from dam safety, it does tell you what the next step is. So very smally in that slide is our dam determination registration. You can find it at on our website under dam safety resources, and then there's a registration form. It does require information from a licensed professional engineer or registered land surveyor to give us the information to make sure that it is a Class A dam. Once we receive that information, our dam safety team takes a look at it, make sure that they agree with you that it is a Class A dam, and then will tell us the next steps for that. What I would always recommend with a dam or any kind of pond for anybody is to first hire an engineer. The reason I say hire an engineer is because these things can be rather tricky, and you don't necessarily want to get into a mess. And then the second thing is to get a determination from both DWR and the U.S. Corps of Engineers. The dam that I have a picture of is in Riley County, and it was built without a permit. So the landowner is in a little bit of hurt right now because it is not does not meet those exemptions, and so it needs to hire an engineer after the fact. So I always recommend that if you're looking at that size of a pond or that size of a dam, that you hire an engineer first. The second thing that you need to be aware of with ponds and dams is that the state of Kansas requires a water appropriation permit if you are going to hold more than 15 acre-feet of storage of water, or if you're going to use a groundwater well for supplementation for that pond. So we have field offices in Topeka, Stafford, and Stockton, and Garden City for help for getting a water appropriations. But that's something that you need to be aware of, that even if you're going to have a 15-acre pond just for fish or for your kids to swim in, it's still considered recreation, and you would need a water appropriations permit from the state of Kansas. Moving away from ponds, the second thing that requires a permit under the Stream Obstruction Act is working in a designated stream. The legislature defines a designated stream as not a blue line, as some people think. It is actually a natural man-made channel that drains a watershed area of, in our eastern part of our state, 1 square mile or more, in the middle of our state, 2 square miles or more, or in the western part of our state, 3 square miles or more. A lot of you are going to ask me next, how do I know how much drainage area comes to a certain location? Well, USGS came up with a great tool. It's called USGS Stream Stats. You can Google it. It comes up with it, and you can find a location anywhere in the state of Kansas and click on that particular location, and it will tell you the drainage area for that stream. It's not perfect. There are some places in our western part of our state that are relatively flat and require some more determination. If you can't get the thing to work very well and you're not really sure, you can always contact DWR, and we'd be happy to give you a determination. So that's how our team starts our determination, is we use US Stream Stats. So what is considered work? So within the channel of the designated stream, within the banks of the designated stream, we consider that the work inside of it. So we can you can construct or modify a stream obstruction, modify the stream channel, or remove aggregate from or dredge between the bank lines. Those all require permitting from DWR. So I'm going to kind of outline each one and give you some pictures of what we're talking about here. So a stream obstruction could be a culvert, a bridge, a low water crossing, a pipeline or utility crossing, or even a temporary crossing. I know a lot of us in our counties are dealing with pipeline companies and wind turbine companies that are accessing property. If they cross a jurisdictional stream and are going to put a crossing in there, even if it's temporary, they will require a permit from DWR prior to putting it in there. Modifying a stream channel. What do I mean by modifying a stream channel? Well, that could be straightening the stream. Instead of having the bends in it, a lot of our farmer friends like to straighten those channels out so that they can farm more efficiently. It could be cleaning out a stream. I get a lot of calls about cleaning out a stream. If you are going to remove sediment from a stream and change that cross section of that stream, you're going to need a permit from the DWR if it is a designated stream. Widening a stream, same thing. If you're going to make that cross section bigger or even smaller, you're going to have to get a permit from DWR. And my favorite, stream bank stabilization or revetment. If you're going to put material along that stream channel and lay back those stream banks so that it doesn't erode anymore, you're going to need a permit from DWR. Aggregate removal. A lot of our counties like to remove aggregate to be used on roads. If you're going to use it for roads or for sale, and the drainage area is more than 50 square miles, you're going to need a permit. Or if you're harvesting more than 100 cubic yards per year, you're going to need a permit from DWR. The picture on the top is of some gravel removal or gravel bar removal for county use. And the one below is sand dredging on the Kansas River. Those both required permitting from our office. So how do I get a permit? Well, we have an application. It can be found on our website. There's a couple pitfalls I'd like to bring to your attention. The first one is to complete the application form all the way. It's not a test. We're not going to grade you on it, but we do need as much information as possible. The key one is the owner contact information. We will need that information to issue the permit to. We need a location map. We need plans. We need construction plans. We'll need a plan view, which is a top side view, and a cross-section view or the side view. We'll need specifications. We'll need to know how you're going to construct this project. We need a benchmark. We need the appropriate fee. We do require a fee to do our applications. I don't get paid otherwise. We may need a hydraulic analysis. If you are doing something within an easement or you don't own the property, we will need a copy of that easement or owner permission. We do not give permits to other people to do work on other people's property. If the side slopes of the channel change are steeper than 2 to 1, we're going to need something to tell us that those are going to be stable. Are you using some kind of geofabric, something like that? And if the mean annual flow is greater than 100 CFS, we're going to need a licensed engineer to do all this for you. Mean annual flow are larger rivers. So the Nenaska, the Kansas, Arkansas are all, Little Arkansas are all greater than 100 CFS. And then a little side note, any fill more than 1 foot in a floodplain will require a floodplain fill permit too. So if you're going to do something in the channel and then as a side effect, the road will put more than 1 foot of fill on in the floodplain outside the channel, then that will require a floodplain fill permit too. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. So I'm going to give you some examples of what I'm looking for. This is a great aerial map that we got. You can use a Google map or the county GIS and just point out where the project is. You may know where the project is, but we have a great big state and sometimes we don't know exactly where you're talking about. So an aerial map is how we find the project. Plan view. The top part is a plan view of the bridge, the culvert that's being put in. So it's the top view. So this is what it looks like if you were a bird in the sky. The second picture below is the cross section. So if I were standing in the stream, this is what it would look like in the stream. So this tells me how big the culvert is, what the road profile is going to look like, stuff like that. Channel change. Again, this was actually, someone was cleaning out a channel, wanted to make it a little wider. So we have a plan view, a topside view for that. And this shows me where the project is and how the extensions are and where the work's going to happen. The one to the side of it is the cross section. This is what it's going to look like if I stand inside the channel when it's done. And then the one on the bottom is the profile. So it tells me what the slope of the channel or how the channel will flow once it's done. And these are gravel removal plans. This is for one in Chase County. This shows me where the gravel, oops, sorry about that. The gravel bar will be removed. It shows me the benchmarks that we require. It shows me where the site is, and then it shows me cross sections of where the gravel were removed and what the stream will look like once the gravel is removed. Construction specifications. As I stated earlier, this just tells me how the project will be built. You can state that you will use KDOT specifications and what addition you'll be using, or you can outline what will be happening. So we have on one side, we just have the KDOT specifications. On the other, we have a contractor outlined what exactly will be happening in that channel. We need this information to make sure that we understand how this will be built. Fees. So if you're just doing a stream obstruction or channel change, you're not doing any work in the floodplain outside of that channel, then the watershed area less than 5 square miles, it'll be $100. Watershed area 5 to 50 square miles is $200, and the watershed area greater than 50 square miles is $500. Please note that we will not start your application review until you send us money. Other items, hydraulic analysis. We may request a hydraulic analysis to show the impact of the stream obstruction. If we feel that we, when we're looking at it, don't feel very comfortable with any kind of impact, we may require a hydraulic analysis from an engineer. Again, owner permission or easements. If you're not the legal owner of the property and you want to do work on it, we just need their permission or sign of an easement on that property. And if you impact their property, so say you're putting in a pond and you're backing up water onto their property, we'll need that an easement from them to show that they're okay with you backing up water onto the property. A stability analysis again for side slopes steeper than 2 to 1. And then you need an engineer for the Kansas, Arkansas, Missouri River and the mean annual flow greater than 100 CFS. You can email applications to the email address below. It's also on our application, but please know we will not start reviewing that application until payment is received. So a couple years ago, our chief engineer came up with the great idea of having what's called a general permit. These are the type of permits that don't require as much analysis from us and can get out of here more quickly. So if you have a bridge or culvert replacement and the cross-sectional area is the same or larger, and you're not doing very much channel work, and the road grade will not change, you can apply for a general permit. If you are removing sand and gravel in a drainage area that's greater than 50 square miles, but you're going to only limit to 100 cubic yards per year, then you can also apply for a general permit instead of going through the full permit process. A pipeline crossing, if you're going to do it by open trench, and the drainage area is less than 50 square miles, then you don't need a permit as long as the pipeline is 5 feet below the stream bed. If the drainage area is larger than 50 square miles, then you will need a permit no matter what, but we do ask that if it's in the Kansas, Arkansas, or Missouri River, it's 7 feet below the stream bed, and any other stream than 50 square miles would be 5 feet below the stream bed. The second picture below is actually from a pipeline on the Arkansas, and you can kind of see it right next to that red leaf. That is a gas pipeline, and it is not 7 feet below the stream bed. I actually could touch it on the stream bank there. So that's one of my favorite pictures of a pipeline crossing. So our application, you would have to fill out the initial application that I showed you and this worksheet that I show. We'll have a zoom of this worksheet here in a minute. If the road is not raised by more than a foot is very key there for culvert replacements. If you are down below, if you're in zone 1 and the drainage area is greater than 4 square miles, you're still going to have to give me a location map, a plan view, and a road cross section. If it's less than that 4 square miles, all you have to do is send in the 2 applications and $100, and we're done. Zone 2, greater than 6 square miles, you need to give me plans. If it's less than that, then you just send me those 2 applications and we're done. Zone 3, it's 8 square miles, and you send me plans. If it's not, then you don't have to send me plans. So let's do a little zoom in of the application. So let's start with the road and bridge one. This is the most common we get to. You have to answer all these questions. And I know that you won't know all the answers, but the most key ones are the very ones on top. The existing opening size and the proposed opening size. The proposed opening size must be larger than the existing opening size for it to qualify as a general permit. And you cannot raise the road grade more than a foot to qualify for a general permit. If you can't answer yes to all of those questions, then you have to go through the regular permitting process. In 2013, the legislature put in a minor project exemption. A permit is not required for a stream obstruction if it disturbs less than 25 feet along the stream length and blocks less than 5% of the channel area. These can kind of include a pedestrian bridge, which is pictured, a low water crossing without the culverts, a boat ramp, and intake or outfill structures. I always put a quantification there that you should obtain a determination from our office prior to construction, just to be sure that it does meet that minor stream obstruction exemption. There also is a rural project exemption. The permit is not required for a stream obstruction if it does not meet the definition of a dam, is in an unincorporated area, the drainage area is less than 5 square miles to the project, it and everything that would happen with it is 300 feet from the adjacent property, and it's not in a floodplain. Typical projects are private roadway culverts or small ponds. Again, I would caution you to get a determination from DWR prior to construction. With that, I'm going to move on to floodplain fills. Floodplain fill is defined as fill within the floodplain. It has to be material, soil, rock, rubble placed in the floodplain to an average height of greater than 1 foot. Examples are levees, building pads, wetlands or duck marshes, aggregates, or soil stockpiles. The picture there is one of my favorite levees in Lyon County. So here's a picture of a levee and then duck marsh in Reno County. And then this is a building pad, I think, in Allen County. So a quick note about unconsolidated material stockpiles or stockpiles. No permit is required if it meets one of the criteria. If the stockpiles have been there since 1929 or before the firm map was published, or the sand and gravel site has been there before 2006, and it meets all the outside the floodway, or it meets all the following: the stockpiles outside of the floodway, it will be there less than 270 days, and the site will be restored after it's removed. So we allow temporary stockpiling. But it cannot obstruct stream flow, it cannot redirect stream flow, and it can't block culverts or channels. So again, if you have a stockpile in your plans, I would recommend getting a determination from DWR before putting that stockpile in. I get the question all the time, how do I know if I'm in a floodplain? Well, one way is to use our FEMA map service center. FEMA, you can put an address, longitude, latitude coordinates, and it will bring up the most current effective map. And that can tell you if you're in a floodplain. That is what we use on our side for determination. If you need a BFE or a base flood elevation in a zone A, we have a portal that you can use to find out that BFE. That's the website. You have to create a login. Then you go to map and you put a square around what you need, and then you ask for a BFE. William Pace is in charge of this, and he does a fantastic job helping us out with BFE determinations. my hat always go out to him. You can also obtain modeling from this portal if you need the model, HEC-RAS model for project. Again, Bill is a great resource for this. So we use the same application form for stream obstructions as we do floodplain fills. It kind of helps us with paper. Again, these are some things that you need to be aware of when you fill out an application. One, please complete the application. We'll need a location map. We'll need some plans. We'll need a plan view or a grading plan and a cross section view. We'll need specifications, a benchmark, the appropriate fee. For floodplain fills, any slope steeper than 3:1 requires a slope stability analysis. A hydraulic analysis, especially a floodway analysis, if you're putting fill in the floodway, will need a no rise. That's usually done by HEC-RAS. And a licensed engineer is required if it's in the floodway. If it's a height of the fill is greater than 4 feet, or it's a Class C levee. A Class C levee is if the levee were to fail, people would be in danger. So homes, that kind of thing would be in danger. So this is a floodplain fill application that we got a couple of years ago. So this is the aerial map we got. This is the project location. This is the location map. This is the grading plan with the contours. You can see that it has the existing contours and the proposed contours. And it shows us the finished floor of the building. It also had a cross section that shows us the finished floor of the building, the proposed grade, and the existing grade. All of this information is required and also gives us a lot of ideas of how it will be constructed and that it will be stable. Specifications. We do need specifications. We need to know how that fill will be compacted, what kind of fill you will be using. This one said that the fills will be compacted per the city of Topeka. And so that is helpful to make sure that that building will be stable. Fees. So Class A levy is an ag levy. So only thing that will be hurt is ag land. That's $100. Class B levy is if the levy were to fail, it may take out 1 or 2 homes or a road. It's $300. And a Class C levy, like I said before, is major damage will be done. It's $500. Floodplain fringe is that's adjacent, is a fringe that is adjacent to the floodway. That's $100. Floodplain zone A is $300. And floodway fill is $500. Now there are after the fact fees for those projects that they forgot to get a permit. These are not that you pay for it and then you can construct it. It means that you forgot. Usually it's so it's twice the fees, so $200, $600, and $1,000. We definitely recommend nobody you have to pay after the fact fees. So other items that I mentioned was the hydraulic analysis. It shows the impact of the fill. It's required for all applications except for fringe fills. The owner permission or easements. The stability analysis for slopes steeper than 3:1. And you need an engineer, again, for Class C levees, fills with greater than 4 feet, or fills in the floodway. You can email your applications to that email address that's on our application, but we will not process the application until the fees are received. Quickly, I'm going to talk about projects that have both. So typically, there are projects that have stream obstructions or channel changes and floodplain fill at the same time. You always take the higher of the 2 fees. So for this one, as you can see, it was a bridge. The existing ground is lower than the proposed ground, so they're going to put fill in the floodplain. So that you would take the higher fee for this one. It would be $300. So because they were putting fill in a zone A floodplain. If you're not sure, you can always contact our office and we'll be happy to tell you what the fee should be. So again, for example, this one, the example that I just showed you had a drainage area of 4 square miles, so it was $100, and then it was in a zone A, so it's $300. So you would have the $300. You take the higher of the two fees. So 300. It's not 400 total. It's the higher of the two fees. So I get this question a lot. Does everybody have to get a permit? Yes, everybody has to. It actually says in the state law that any person, partnership, association, corporation, agency, or political subdivision of the state government has to get a permit. So that includes KDOT, the city, the county, the levee district, the township, the pipeline companies, the wind turbines, who else? City councilmen, county councilmen, watershed districts. I could go on and on. Now, a question that came up a couple years ago when I gave this presentation was, what about the railroads? Well, the railroads under U.S. law 49 U.S.C. 10501 is under the jurisdiction of the Surface Transportation Board and is exempt from state and local permits as long as they are working within their existing right-of-way. Now, if they're putting in a new rail line or purchasing more right-of-way, then they would require state and local permitting. But if they're within their right-of-way, they can do work without one. DWR has had no issues trying to get permitting from railroads. They've been pretty helpful getting permits even though they don't require them, but they are exempt per this U.S. law. So sometimes I get asked a lot, why does it take so long for a floodplain fill or for permits to get approved? There is a state law called the Environmental Coordination Act that all applications received for DWR have to go through a 30-day review. That 30-day review goes through 7 state agencies: the Kansas Department of Wildlife, Parks and Tourism, the Kansas Forest Service, the State Biological Survey, the Kansas Department of Health and Environment, State Historical Society, and the Kansas Department of Agriculture Division of Conservation, the State Corporation Commission. They get 30 days on a regular permit to review the application for any environmental impacts. If you qualify for a general permit rather than a regular permit, then it's 7 days instead of 30 days. So it narrows that down to 7 days. If you require any additional information, you can find it under our on our app on our website, Divisions and Programs, Division of Water Resources, Stream Instruction of Floodplain Fill Permits. All this information is on there. You can also give us a call. My name again is Janelle Phillips. I do the state permits. There's floodplain ordinance questions. You can call my friend Cheyenne. FEMA questions, you can call my friend Tara. To obtain HECRAS models, you can call my friend Bill, or you can use that BFE portal, which is very helpful. And then complaint issues, problems, people not doing what you want them to do, you can give me a call and I'll give it a try to make them comply with your regulations. And with that, again, this is my contact information. That's my office number, and that is my work cell. And then I'll open it up for questions.
So I don't think we have anything in the chat, but if anyone wants to come off mute to ask a question, you can.
I know I didn't do that good a job.
Okay, so I don't hear anyone, but of course you can always reach out with questions later on. I think I will stop the recording and then launch the, oh, sorry, there's a question coming through. in the chat. So Eddie is asking, is the acre feet measured as the surface area of the lake or pond?
So acre feet is actually a volume. So if you imagine in your head, you have a 3-acre pond, surface acres, and then you dig it 5 feet deep all the way around. We all know that that's not how a pond works, but this is kind of how I kind of tell people is that if it's 5 feet deep all the way around like a bathtub, that would be 15 acre feet. So it doesn't go by surface acres.
Okay, yep, that answers the question. And yes, I will get a copy of these slides and send them out afterwards. Okay. Any other questions before I start the polls? Okay, do streams or waterways that are not in the flood zones need a permit to alter or change?
They could. There are some places where the floodplain doesn't go through a jurisdictional stream for some reason. So it's always good if you're not 100% sure to contact our office or go onto that USGS stream stats and find out what the drainage area is.
Okay. Are there 3 types of permits: floodplain fill, general, and stream obstruction / channel change?
There are. So the floodplain fill and stream obstruction use the same permit application. And then the general permit uses the same application and then has that worksheet. So there are 3 different types that come out of our office.
Awesome. Any other questions?